The door is open, so come on in. Sound check done, let's begin. Breaking news, the guest is you. Streaming live for you to view. Open House the podcast. Open House the podcast. Ooh. The door is open, so come on in. Sound check done, let's begin. Breaking news, the guest is you. Streaming live for you to view.
There we go. Originally, every week, there we go.
We're here.
That's what we look like.
There we are.
I'm on some medicine right now, so I'm pushing buttons, and I figure if I can drive, I can run a podcast, right?
So right now, is this just a temporary medicine?
Yes. What?
Is it? Are you just taking medicine temporarily?
What
hope happened?
So yeah,
happened?
I pulled my back moving furniture.
Well,
Yeah.
I thought the audience should know.
Yeah, well now they do. Yeah, so I have, and the only person that came into the show with an injury.
No, my thumb hurts today.
Okay. Well,
Oh no, I'm okay.
Who knows?
I'm okay, guys. I'll keep it together for all of us.
somebody needs to. So
Right.
so we're here. We have a fantastic guest with us, Keith Simon, today. And as we put in the everything's super loud. Super loud to you guys. So as we put into the chat log, there's so many things. You know what's really funny? Now we've been working together for some time now, and I have never read your bio, so I didn't realize all the different things that you've had your hands in over the years. And here's what's funny, Summer, about Keith. This
Yeah.
is the funny thing. This is why before we even started the show, we ended up with all these talking points. I'm like, just hang on to them. Wait till the show because there's all these things already that we need to talk about.
I
like-
know. I already noticed.
But Keith is one of those guys where when you sit down with him, he just nonchalantly has these life stories. And I listen and I do pay attention. And like, so the other day we're all just sitting down at dinner and all of a sudden he's just like, oh yeah, I know all the people that work, Mel Gibson movie, and he's just name dropping Mel Gibson, these people with these movies, like it's nothing. It's
I
just
wasn't
another
really
day.
name dropping. Come on.
That's the thing. No, he really wasn't. That's the thing. It was just like a normal conversation. Like, yeah, Anne, with that Mel Gibson thing. Yeah, she made her movie. It's good. Yeah, everything. And I was like, what is happening
Had
right
lunch
now?
last week. It's really cool. She told me about it.
Yeah. Me and Mel go back to the Braveheart days. I was one of the
saw ya.
warriors.
Yeah, Warrior 168, if I remember.
Exactly. I was the
Yeah.
guy with the blue paint on my face.
That was that was me. Yeah, yeah. Oh, now I see it. You were the guy from the insurrection.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Whatever.
But he had blue paint too, didn't he?
They all had blue paint.
They all had blue
They
paint?
were Scottish,
There
right?
you
So
go.
they were.
I was
Most
talking
of them
about the
had blue
insurrection
paint.
people,
Let's put it
but
that
that's
way.
The Scottish people too.
They just
Yeah.
blue paint on the side of their face.
But it's amazing. Like when I go out and we sit at lunches, just like I said, these stories that you share, and I know that there's plenty of stories, and that's kind of what we wanted to hit on today. I definitely will hit on Snap and how that helps people and the invention of that, but really who you are and your life collection of stories so far. By the way, I don't know if you know this guy. This dude has like 50,000 records. And that's a thing still.
Not that many, but I have
Oh,
a lot.
that's
I have a
cool.
lot of records. Yes.
So is it like a collection?
It's been a collection going back to when I was 16, and then 2008, I gave most of it away and acquired some more.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And
That's
now I'm
really
getting
cool.
ready to get rid of a whole lot more. I think like 2,000
Are you-
albums are going out the door in the next month.
Are you gonna accumulate more of that? You think?
If my wife Lori had her way, I would not accumulate a single album again.
What do you collect? Lori's off screen right now. She's watching this whole thing. What do you collect?
I'll answer.
Lip gloss?
She collects dogs, animals. Right.
Animals.
She collects animals. We
Yeah.
have two dogs currently. At the height, we had 4.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
cool.
Yeah, and 3 cats.
So you have 2,000 records for every one animal she has. Is that kind of how the math adds up?
Maybe 1,000 for every animal. Yeah.
Now let me ask, like, so did you always think, hey, someday these are going to be very valuable, or they were just always valuable to you, or why? Like, how did you start with the record thing?
They were always valuable to me because I loved music. So I have a personality that likes to collect things. So back in the day, it would be, I'm harkening back to 1988. I would take my paycheck on Friday and go hang out at a record store called Play It Again Records. They were open till midnight. I'd drop a couple $100 and I'd accumulate as much as I could. It's the way that I listened to new artists at that time.
It's cool.
I felt
Yeah.
I was hip and I liked being on the cutting edge of
Technology.
technology at the time. Records, right?
Yeah.
I was, when you get to the technology side, I was an original beta tester for Spotify. I was an early adopter for Spotify.
See what I mean? This
So,
is crazy.
I mean, I've had Spotify since 2006, maybe 2007. But I was one of the early adopters. I didn't pay a dime for
Yeah, I was
Spotify
gonna say,
for
is
like
that-
8 years.
That's when it first came
Yeah.
out.
That's
and
back when
about.
artists used to be like, we will never have our music on there.
Spotify,
is stealing
Yes.
our music.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And now they're all there.
Now they're all there.
They have to be. They
Yeah.
have to change with the times.
Well, I saw this is just a stupid record stat. If you go back to like the greatest selling album in the 80s was Michael Jackson Thriller. I think it's still the #1 selling album of all times. And in 1 year, it moved nearly 15 million copies.
Yeah.
The highest selling production, or when you count CDs and vinyl last year, was Taylor Swift's album, whatever one it was. It was
Yeah.
like 350,000 copies. So they're just not moving the physical product, even though records are far outweighing, sales more than CDs. And you've seen a resurgence in the record
Yeah,
stores.
yep.
Yeah.
Records are everywhere. They're at Target, Walmart, everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, do you have the Taylor Swift record?
Since I couldn't name it, I do not.
Okay, I just was wondering.
No,
I feel like I should know it.
Somebody Google it. Maybe folklore. I don't know. That sounds like one of her last albums. 24.
The one that just came
The
out.
the Poet Society. It's something like that.
Something.
I don't know. I'm not a Swiftie.
I'm not either.
I'm not either.
I'm not either. I
Well, you know you are someone.
I feel like
She doesn't
everybody's
wanna
gonna be
admit
like,
it.
Summer should
I'm-
know this.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that you don't.
I do know
this.
it. It's like at the tip of my tongue. I just can't remember.
It's just randomly.
Tortured Poets. Something.
Something like that.
Google it.
You
Laura.
almost ring a bell.
I love how we all have laptops in front of us, and none of us are like, "Yeah, hang on, let me Google it." No, I don't.
I
don't
would,
ever
but
care that much.
I felt it would be a distraction. So.
Yeah, we don't want.
Yeah.
We don't
I
want
have
that
to
on this
know.
show.
Like I'm like dying to know
Are
what that
you
album is. Right?
so
Like,
interesting? Look it up, Summer. What
I
is?
can't
what
watch
is
a movie and like I seen that actor somewhere. Who is he? Oh, I don't know. That's what we do all the time.
You're the guy that they created the X-ray for,
Yeah.
so that
The
you,
Eras tour.
the air.
I knew
Not
that.
even close. What
But
did
that
you-
was the tour. I don't
Yeah.
think that was the album.
Oh, the album?
Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, you can find it somewhere. Right
yeah.
there.
Summer's looking it up for us. People are
Yeah.
screaming right now. That
The
are listening to
Tortured
this
Poets Department.
He was right.
You killed
he was
it.
one,
Yeah.
one away.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing that I almost knew.
Good
It
word.
really
Wow.
is embarrassing.
Good word.
I
Embarrassing for
just
me.
love this view, and this view, you're like, I don't know Taylor Swift. He's like, yeah, the Dead
Like Taylor
Poets.
Swift's older than Summer. I feel like Summer should have listened to Taylor Swift.
No, I definitely did. Like I grew up listening to Taylor Swift. There was like a weird, like I turned a certain age and I just kind of, I just wasn't into Taylor Swift anymore. I still like some of her music. It's super catchy and fun.
Yeah.
But that I don't.
Unless you date her, and then those songs are about you.
Yeah, exactly.
Giant's like, I have no idea what you're
I-
talking about.
I have no-
She
I-
writes songs about
you-
all her
you-
ex-boyfriends,
She
and they
does.
become hits.
Yeah.
I love how you're like, I don't know anything about Taylor Swift, and as we've been going on, here, he's
It's pretty embarrassing.
I think he was.
relinquishing all of
yeah.
this information.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, out of all they say never meet your heroes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have all these records that you've collected. Did you ever get signatures or meet any of these people?
Sure. Yeah.
And
So
was it a good experience or?
no, by and large, most people that play music are. I don't say this to offend people, but they're very arrogant, right? Like,
Yeah.
So I would go to this store, Play It Again Records, and they used to have bands come in all the time. So on Friday nights, they'd be open till midnight at times, and they might have a band like Jesus and Mary Chain, Maisie Star, these indie bands. I think Ian Brown from Stone Roses came over there one day. And by and large, you would think they'd be grateful to reach out to a new audience,
Yeah.
and they just didn't seem to be. Now, I could be completely wrong, but you know, I never had a good experience chasing autographs for anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just,
Interesting.
you know, I do have a story about that. I went to a Red Wings game on New Year's in oh gosh, it's going to be 1988. Red Wings
Okay.
game. Red Wings traditionally play on New Year's Eve every year, right? It's a home game. And there in line with us is this 7-foot guy named Bill Lambier. Now, Bill was a legendary player for the Detroit Pistons, the Bad Boys. And I asked him for his autograph at that time. I mean, I'm I'm early 20s. And he looks at me and he's like, I'm trying to enjoy myself. Get out of my face.
Oh my goodness.
Shout out to Bill Lambier, who is, I understand, is mellowed now since the days, but he was not kind. And I don't think I ever really willingly asked for an autograph after that point.
From anybody?
No, because I did see his point. Like, he was out in public trying to enjoy
Yeah.
a hockey game just like me, right?
Yeah.
And he's in line to probably buy a beer and a hot dog. And here's this 21-year-old guy going, "Can I have your autograph, sir? Drop
Yeah.
what you're doing."
Yeah.
So it was
I'll
kind of
hold
just
your hot dog. You hold the pen.
right, exactly. Well, let's play that back later. See how that ages that statement.
But like you started that with they say don't meet your idols.
Yeah, well,
Is
what's
that
funny
why?
about that is, like, I would never have. Well, I don't know. I remember there was some, and I don't know who it was, some musician, and we might have talked about this. And there was a little kid that was in the audience, and they said, "How do I become famous?" And his answer was, "Don't. It
Yeah.
will ruin your life."
Yeah.
And we've talked
crazy.
about that when I met Miley Cyrus and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
So, like,
Name
There-
dropping now. Here we go.
well, not all of us just have
Yeah,
lunch
he
with
dropped
famous
that one. That's a
people.
good one.
I like her better as Hannah Montana, but
I love Miley Cyrus. We just put that out there.
yeah.
That's a shame.
Big man. She's a good person. She's
She
just,
is a good person.
well, she is the product
I
of.
think.
Well, she is. I don't know. All the celebrities. I think that was the best advice. Just don't was the best advice.
Yeah.
yeah.
But that being said, I mean, I've been places where people recognize you and they want photos and stuff like that, and it's cool. It's a cool feeling. But if you're that introvert and you didn't do it on purpose, you just
Yeah.
like playing music, like I can see where that would get.
And I've had a chance to meet other heroes, most sports people, and I've had a good experience other than Bill Lambier. I think it's that interaction of asking him for an autograph that was just not the time and place. Maybe it was
Yeah.
at the basketball game and he was running out and he signed
Yeah.
something. But I've had other good interactions, but not a lot with musicians.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what was your favorite interaction you've ever had?
Do you know who Steve Yzerman is?
The hockey player.
The hockey player, now the
From
general
Red
manager
Wings,
of the
right?
Red Wings.
Yeah.
So-
I've met him as well. I did magic for him.
no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell your story first because that's going to be my story.
That you did magic for Steve Yzerman?
I did not do magic for Steve.
Oh,
That's
I
why I
was
said
like,
your
wow,
magic for Steve Yzerman's going to blow mine away.
Well, I don't know about that. So there's two people that I met that I don't know hockey at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I called my mom and I said, "Hey, I got this gig." This is back when I was doing magic.
Yeah.
And I said, I happen to be backstage with the Red Wings during some big show.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you want autographs from? She goes, "Well, who's here?" I said, "Well, right now I'm having lunch with Gordie Howe." And
How? No,
whatever. How? Sorry.
I love the-
hockey fans. And I said,
Come
on.
on.
The only thing I knew about him was he's the guy. They had a statue of him from when he was 20 years old in the front of the building. So I didn't recognize the guy.
And they just named a bridge after him.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that had happened yet. Maybe it had.
Oh,
I
not
don't know.
probably not when you were doing magic. No.
But it was interesting because the players were there, and Steve Yzerman, those two guys were Gordie was really cool. He was really cool the whole time, but he came in a wheelchair, and they wheeled him in.
Wow.
But when he went out on stage, because then these guys were going out on stage and doing some sort of meet and greet with this really select group of people. I think there were people that were ticket holders for 20 years or something.
Yeah, probably.
He would have them help him up, but he would not let them walk him out to the stage. So he would walk himself out to the stage, and I always just thought that was really cool.
That is.
It always reminded me of now my mind's gonna slip. The president that got
Absolutely.
people.
Yeah.
Steve Eiserman, however, he was a cool guy too. That dude is a serious dude though. Like this guy was really serious, and I remember we were showing everybody tricks, and we're used to people reacting, and you know, people we do some crazy stuff. We were doing some crazy stuff. Steve Eiserman, I remember telling somebody, I don't think that guy would smile on camera if you did something for him unless you paid him to do it. He was just very serious. We showed him this crazy trick, and he's just like, "That's very nice." And I was like, this guy is just, you know, he was just a very serious, you could tell guy. And then all of a sudden he's behind the curtain. He's got this face on, like he's like just, you know, mad at everything, right? Like we showed him a horrible trick or something. And then they're like, Steve Eiserman. He goes, and like he put this, like his whole face shook and clicked. He had a smile on. He went out there. He's relatable. I'm like, what the crap was
That's
that?
crazy.
It was weird.
That's awesome.
That's my Steve Eiserman.
What trick did you show Steve? I'm just
so
wondering.
I had a partner.
Was
at
it
the
the
time.
card up the sleeve?
No, we might have put a coat hanger through somebody's neck.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think we did that, and I have pictures of it somewhere. I also have pictures.
Could you do it now?
I couldn't. I don't. My neck is.
Are you?
Well, Summer's neck seems perfect to put a coat hanger. through.
Why me? No, it was
Wow.
your idea. You're the
no,
guest.
Or me, yes.
You're the guest.
Coat hanger my neck.
Your
Let's
wife's
go.
here. Let's do her neck. What
Right?
is this turning into?
Exactly.
If you or somebody you know is in an abusive relationship,
Well, it's magic. There's no pain in magic. Come on.
Exactly.
oh yeah, yeah. I'll
Nobody's
tell
really
ya.
getting sawed in half.
I'll tell you, it's like professional wrestling. It's the stuff that looks like it's not painful is the thing that you're really going through a work for. You know what I mean? It's
like podcasting right now.
yeah,
It's really painful.
super painful. But no, actually, I feel nothing right now. This is great.
Good.
This all spun off of us saying, "Hey, wait 3 minutes for us to tell this story." Since we brought Lori into this, about how you guys met. You started telling a story about how you took her to a really fancy restaurant.
Yeah, it was a really fancy restaurant. It was called the Tipperary Pub,
Yeah,
which has
sounds
been
good.
torn down. It was off the 96 Service Drive. I mean, to give you an idea of how run down this place was, it was in the heart of Detroit. There's a couple biker clubs right down the street, but it was a
Yeah.
legendary pub. And I took her there because I thought, like, if she could hang at the tip, that's what you called it. I mean,
Yeah.
the lady who owned the place was just called Ma behind
Yeah.
Ma behind the bar, and if she could hang at the tip, then man, this would
Like she
should
can
be-
hang for life.
she could hang for life. And then I proceeded to spill a Guinness all over.
That was the
First
real
day.
A
test.
dark beer Guinness.
And so now,
The sound.
if you're ever out with Lori and I, she'll constantly move my drink.
Oh, that's
Right?
funny.
Like, you know, there's a bunch of memes on Trump. Trump does that
Yeah.
all the time. Like,
Yeah.
Lori's always doing this. If we go out to dinner, she'll be like, push it. It's got to be in the middle. It's too close.
That is so
Right?
funny.
Yeah. And I think to this day, that's the only thing I've spilt, and she's probably spilled twice.
Yeah, well, the second you sat down, you set
No,
your
she said
coffee next to my laptop. She said,
She said, "Push
Nope.
it back."
Yeah,
That's
she
why-
said,
"Move
push
your
back.
drink.
Yeah,
Move
yeah.
your
She's like,
drink."
Summer, come on.
Lori-
I had an experience back in 1999 with this guy. You don't want to relive it on your lifetime.
I trust her. I trust her.
Yeah.
The good old 1999 incident, tip of the bar, or
That's
whatever.
right. The
is.
Tipperary Pub. It's not there anymore.
That's a really cool story, though.
It's not bad.
So talking about stories, so again, you've been involved in a lot of different businesses. You've been involved in a lot of different things. I would say that you're a serial entrepreneur because it seems like you go from one thing and another, and you help here and there. How many businesses do you think you've had your hand in your lifetime?
Types of businesses or actual businesses?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I don't know, because 10, 12.
Yeah.
I mean, some have been running consistent behind each other at times. I'm not like your first guest, Jason Courtney. None of them have been highly successful, right? Like some of them have been just for fun. And I think that, you know, we were talking yesterday, Lori and I were, and the biggest challenge I've always had in business is to know when to quit or when not to quit.
Yeah, yeah.
So sometimes I've stayed too long in businesses. Sometimes I haven't stayed long enough. And that maturity to figure that out is something that's always been evolving in me, right? Because it's not always about money that
Right.
makes you stay or makes you quit.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you were to ask me what was the hardest thing that I had to do in 2024, and I would say that's taking a leap of faith and starting a new business. And we don't have to talk about the business, but starting a new business with, really no concept at first how we were going to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. You're living the life that they always say, just leap and the shoot will appear. Is that net will appear? That's it.
Yeah.
I knew it was there.
I've taken a lot of leaps. I haven't seen those nets yet, but this feels a little different.
Yeah. So has it kind of been like through your, like, when did you first realize or that you weren't going to like be at McDonald's, that you were more of an entrepreneur spirit? Like, what was the first thing that you ever did?
First business I ever owned?
Or anything. First thing that you sold? Like, when did you do that first entrepreneurial thing?
Like realize that was the direction you were going to go.
So it's going to be back in 1988. I had a terrible experience. I was at U of M and I was getting ready to go to California. I was accepted into USC. I was going to go live out there for a little bit. I had great friends that lived out there. And my mom's best friend ran a company called Household Finance at the time, or Household Retail actually is where I started working. And Household Retail was a company that did the private label financing for like Best Buy, Gardner White, Art Van. And so she's like, just come hang out here, do collections for the summer, and then head to California. Well, when you're 20 years old, right? Like, and you start you're making 30, 40,000, and you're like, I don't need to go to college, right? So that's the first thing. I started in collections. And at the same time that we're running up in collections, Household Retail had gone through this growth spurt. And I had probably the summer of 88 into the summer of 89, I had 60 of my friends working for me. So this was this was replicating any college experience I could have had. We were working together, we were playing together, and it was a lot of fun. But at the same time, as this is 89 now, I'm going on Friday nights. That was my ring hitting this.
Okay.
You're like, Johnny's like, what's it?
I was trying to make sure none of my equipment was breaking.
Nope, your
we've
equipment's
done a live
fine.
show and our microphone fell
it's
off one time.
Probably
so.
just Keith moving around too much. That's always assume that. So in 1989, I'm going to that record store, Play It Again Records, and me and a few friends are like, we're spending a lot of money on records and music. Why don't we just start a record store? And so that was my first take of trying to be an entrepreneur myself. So we had contacted Play It Again Records, who then had a store in Ann Arbor, and he was very willing to sell to us. So I had taken the painstaking steps of figuring out where we were going to get the money, how we were going to position it. Now, fortunately, it fell apart. And I say this because an independent record store, even in the 80s, you made your living not only by selling this, Stone Roses title from England, but you had to sell the Janet Jackson CD or album at $18 to make your bills, right? Like, you had to move some of the mainstream. And then 9 months after we got ready to purchase the store and it had fallen apart, Tower Records came in right across the street from Play It Again Records in Ann Arbor. And it was fate. They simply couldn't move enough product. So we did do the mail order thing for a while. We had a place called It Came From the Basement Records, and we were doing a lot of mail order. But that was my first touch of like doing it for myself, managing a business.
And so you just pulled a bunch of people together and said, we can do this. Let's buy this. How did you? Okay. So let's talk about that. How did you gather the capital together as somebody that, because I'm assuming then you dropped out of college then to pursue
I never went back after U of M. I never went to California. I matter of fact, even when the record store fell, I ended up working for the Household International family of companies until 2000.
Wow.
So from 88 to 2000, I was in some capacity at Household. So yeah, I never went back to college at that time.
So how did you pull the capital together? Like you know that you like this, you brought a bunch of friends together. How did you pull the capital together to start your first thing?
I went to my aunt and said I need $25,000, and she said, for what? And I told her. She said, okay, we'll make it work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's shout out to your aunt.
Shout out. She died last year, but thanks, Aunt Sharon. She was a very blessed woman that had a very lucrative business. She believed a lot in me, but we just couldn't make sense of it, right? Like it seemed like, because I think in order, this would have pulled us out of what we were doing. We were all my partners were working at Household at the time. I went to high school with these guys. We were all at Household at the time. And it's like, okay, how do we then take ourselves out of an ongoing paycheck and sit in a record store and just wait for clients and customers?
Yeah.
And we couldn't figure out that dynamic. And we also knew that we weren't ready to hire a bunch of people to do it. So we didn't have, we raised the capital, but we didn't have the plan of how we were going to run the store.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then that experience catered to what next? Like, what did you do with that experience that you learned? What did you turn that experience into?
Waiting. I mean,
Yeah.
waiting until there is another opportunity to kind of replicate it, because I think that people can get stuck very easily, right? Like from 88 to 2000, I'm with the same company. I have an amazing benefits package. I'm pulling in well over 6 figures. I felt no need to leave and jump into the entrepreneur pool. I was working for a company called Household Finance, and if you guys don't even know what finance companies were, they really stopped appearing on the landscape in probably, I think, 2004 was when most of them stopped. Household Finance might have stopped in 2006, but I was selling high rate mortgages. I had no idea there was low rate mortgages. I had no idea what banks did or anything like that. So I was just schlepping a product, and I was happy to do it, right? I was really good at it. And because I was secure and making good money, I never felt the need to chase the entrepreneurial dream at that point. And then circumstances forced me into that, right? Like going through a divorce, and all of a sudden, the market crashes in 2008, and you find yourself going, how do I go back? Because at that point in my life, success was all about how much money I made, right? How do I go back and replicate that success? And it was difficult. And then, probably 2008 when we had a chance to have our next entrepreneurial activity.
That's pretty interesting, because most people during that time were freaking out and then trying to figure out how to find the next place to become secure.
Mm-hmm.
And you took a different route. You said, if I'm going to take the reins, where can I apply my entrepreneurship at? Like, what do you think creates the different drive in people? The person that just goes, man, I don't know what I'm going to do here. I'm going to have to either do nothing, which is what a lot of people did, or I'm going to have to find another job, versus the guy that says, if it's to be, it's up to me. I'm going to go make this happen.
Well, I have always put way too much stake in myself, and that's kind of a problem. Like, if it's to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
And too many times I've chased what I thought I could build, instead of what's looking at the reality. I'm also, as my wife would tell you, I'm a dreamer. I'm an optimist. I believe things bigger than they could be. So in 2008, when we started a company in the film funding industry, this was something that I could tell you. I could look back at my notes in 2008 and tell you that our goal was to fund 10 films in the first year. In the first couple years in business, we had over 4,000 films presented to us for financing, right? Because everybody's looking for money. But it was just that naivety of, hey, we're getting this. We know these people, it's going to work. I didn't have a clue how it was going to work. I always trusted that because things might be falling in my lap, that things would happen. I needed to hone myself and learn. And this became even more apparent to me in 2024 is I needed to learn what I was doing instead of just relying on everybody else to do it or assuming that they would do it. So, I jumped in because I had to in 2008. The market crashed, and I can tell you from a mortgage perspective, there wasn't a lot of security out there. You couldn't go and be a mortgage manager or, a president and make, 6 figures, because there was so much uncertainty about where the market was going to go. And so I sat in a place, and we were getting different projects. I had a partner, and we were getting different projects referred to us, commercial financing. We had some forward financing deals, which are pro athletes would come to us and say, I just signed this contract for $15 million. Here's how I get paid. Here's my signing bonus. I need to access more than I can have right now. how do you finance a deal with me? So we were able to help assist in a couple of those. We were playing around in the commercial landscape because it was and still is the Wild West of financing. And we just had all these opportunities, and we're trying to apply ourselves in many places that made sense. And again, it's amazing how many things we got into that I go back to what I said. Knowing when to quit and when not to quit was the key. My partner and I were actually flown out to California to, we had been brought in to this large investment group, right? When I say large, the first day that I opened the doors, I took 150 applications. These were people that were buying investment houses, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, in 2008, this is a dream scenario. We've got more business than we need to coming in. And something just didn't make sense. In these 150 applications, I saw a lot of the same houses being used for different people. And these people had no idea, I think, what their name was being used for. So I went back to the group that we were dealing with and said, I don't think we can deal with this anymore. We still went out to California with a different part of the group. And to make a long story short, 2 days later, while we were in California, this other group, the first group we were dealing with, is trying to get us to fly out to San Francisco. We're going to pay you $50,000. Come out here. We'll send a private jet right now. We really need you guys. I think it was maybe a week later, 2 days later, maybe a week later, the FBI raided that first company.
Wow.
They raided that first company.
Yeah.
It was a bad situation.
Yeah,
and I just think of, there was telltale signs why to quit, but it was the right time to quit. But it's a long-winded answer that I don't think I've always had the entrepreneurial bug. I don't think I've always had that leadership mentality to do it right. I've stumbled upon some situations, and I thought were going to work, and some that did and some that didn't.
So we got a comment here from Tab Brown.
No way.
Says, Keith is an extraordinarily talented team builder, a real piped piper.
That's Pied Piper, but
Pied Piper?
Piped Pied.
Pipe.
I did mention to Johnny I could see him smoking a pipe one day.
And I have eaten a pie.
First off, it's the most shocking thing to see that my best friend Tab Brown is listening to the podcast. What's up, yo Tabber?
What's up, Tab?
So as I tell the California story.
Tab was the guy that got raided by the FBI.
No, Tab was the guy that was down to California with me, right? Like Tab is the connection that we had. It was Tab's brother-in-law's brother-in-law that set it up, a guy that I went to high school with. So shout out to my boy, yo Tabber.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So how did you, because you put a lot of information in there really, really quick. So if I'm trying to just peel that apart, so it sounds like realistically what you've done is you've been, well, I don't know, how do I even put this? You've seen doors that were open because I don't even know how to put it. Like you took the opportunity, you recognized opportunity. I think that's how I'd put that.
I think I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you knew you wanted to do, you just wanted to sell
At 3
things
years
or be a
old,
salesperson.
yeah.
Like, you didn't
I never
limit
want to be
yourself.
a salesperson.
Yeah, like you
I
didn't
had
limit.
no interest in sales. My dad was a car salesman all my life.
no
I
kidding.
had zero interest in
Yeah.
ever being in sales.
kind of
So you knew
cars?
what you didn't want to do.
My dad worked at every type of car dealership.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, he was a general manager most of his life.
What did he ever want you to get into the whole car dealership thing?
No, he never tried.
No, really?
No.
Interesting.
No.
He
Which
tried to
is-
steer you away from it?
No. I mean, that would take a lot of interaction, and
I got
we
you.
didn't have that in a social path. The fact that I stopped going to Michigan upset my dad more than any career path or money I could have
Right.
made.
You thought you were going to do sports out there? Or
No. By the time I went to U of M, I mean, it was just a focus. I thought I wanted to be in psychology.
Oh, interesting. I can see that, yeah.
And then as I started going through psychology courses in my major, I realized in order to make money in psychology, you really have to have your doctorate.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I didn't want to be a psychologist. I
Yeah.
wanted to write prescriptions. I want to get people hooked on drugs. No. The real money is being in, a psychiatrist or something like
Yeah.
that. And had I done it now, maybe I'd be a sports team psychiatrist. That would be pretty cool.
Interesting.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be cool.
My
Yeah.
daughter's actually pursuing that, and she wants to be a forensic psychologist.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Well, even though your dad, maybe he wasn't the biggest fan. You still had your aunt help you.
Yeah, well, again, I never took that check from her. It just didn't work out. But
No.
my aunt was.
Really?
Yeah, that was my. Yeah.
So did that deal fall before it came together with the
Yeah,
record
because
shop?
we couldn't figure out how to run the record store.
couldn't build
We
the
couldn't
plan.
figure out the plan.
Yeah.
Us buying it sounded great. Us having our names attached to it and
Yeah.
going there on weekends. But how was the store going to run itself
Yeah.
the rest of the week? And none of us were going to take ourselves out of $40,000 at 20, 21 years old. No way.
Yeah.
No, that,
I mean,
that's a
So
lot
let
of
me
money.
ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're going back in time, okay? And you have been brought in to consult yourself and your friends on how to make that record business succeed. Would you be able to do it? What advice would you give?
Geez, my advice would be start a record store in 2014 when vinyl becomes
back.
popular again,
Yeah.
and be at the forefront and have your doors open for a few years before it really starts piecing out. I mean, I never did it. I never thought I'd make a ton of money on it, right? What it was, why we started doing it. And I'm sure if there's any record store owners listening, they don't do it to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
These people love music. They
Yeah.
love interacting with people about different music. There's a funny movie called High Fidelity. If you've never seen it, it's a Nick Hornby book with John Cusack and Jack Black in it. It's really funny because it does portray the record store vibe. But I don't think I'd even go back and advise myself, because it would be today I might say, here's what you need to do to be successful. And it was never meant to be successful. That was the whole thing. We wanted something so that we weren't spending so much money at the stores. I mean,
Yeah.
we're driving $500, $1,000 a month at times on records, right? Like records.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think I could give myself that advice, because not having run it, I don't think I know what it takes to be super successful being a record store.
Yeah.
And nor would I want to.
My advice, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
But when Facebook comes along, invest. That's what I would have given
Yes.
myself
Yes.
advice. So
Or Bitcoin.
And I don't know this. I don't know this either. And I guess now's the time to ask this. I don't know why we've never had a chance for me to ask you this during lunch. But a lot of people when we first met at your event, and I put the picture up, there's a lot of people that, oh, you know Keith, and a lot of people know you, and a lot of people know you as the OG that helped people get into mortgage company business and do this, that, and the other thing too. So how, I guess from knowing you as the OG of like mortgage mentorship to how did we go from there, and then what was in between there and then going to Snap now? Like, what was the journey like?
Well, keep in mind that in 2008, I exited the mortgage business. Dodd-Frank had come in. Companies weren't hiring. I had to transition into something or try and find something at work. In saying that, I mean, I went without stable employment from like 2008 to 2012. Chasing entrepreneurial dreams, some of them working, some of them not. I re-entered the mortgage space in 2017. All right. Stayed there until 2020 and started working for Jeff Glover. I was the director of sales, which, I mainly ran the title company and helped realtors and other things. And then, so I'd say 2020, that was actually 2018 with Jeff. And then 2020, I joined forces with Gold Star with the thought of owning our own title company.
Okay.
So we started a title company from start to finish. And why? Because I had experience of running a title company with Jeff. And I thought that we could do things that would make a difference. And we could do things from a marketing perspective. We could teach realtors that title wasn't just this piece of paper where everybody pays the same thing. And it was a good experience. But along that way, so getting back in the industry all the way up through title and then Snap, I met a lot of people, right? I hired a good amount of people. I had people that used to work for me back in the day, but I met a lot of people.
We got a comment from Curtis Chiwell. Keith is a great leader, humble, kind, giving to everyone around him. Love being in your community.
Man, I'm blushing right now, Curtis. Thank you, brother. Curtis Chiwell is one of the best I know as well, and thank you for listening.
Sorry to cut you off.
But I know that's great. I met a lot of people. And so being an OG, I don't think I'm an OG. I just met a lot of people.
He's an OG. Come on, he's an OG. He's an OG, isn't he? I don't know why you say you don't think you're on the OG. You got people like Curtis popping in here. Yeah. So Curtis name drops you. That's how OG you are.
I love me some Curtis Shewell. I think the most valuable thing that I have in my life is relationships.
Yeah.
So I've always tried to take every relationship as not a transactional thing, and not looking how it can help me. And it happens that as you float in and out of businesses, sometimes those relationships come back and they do help you, right? Like my title relationships that I made over the last 6 years are exponentially helping me with Snap and growing those. And those are people that I met through title, right? But those are people I couldn't help maybe in title, but they're real relationships. And when you take time to find out something about someone instead of just what that someone could mean to you, you can connect on a different basis. So I mean, the question I've always asked to people in any sort of business or sales, and it may seem like a stupid question, but I might ask you, Johnny, like, you know, once we get to know each other, who is somebody you want to know in this industry? Because I really believe, you know, in the film industry, it's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? It's everybody is 6 films removed or 6 people away from working with Kevin Bacon. Yeah. I believe that I have somebody in my phone book that can get me almost to anybody that you want to talk to.
That's great.
And it's just having that conversation, right? So OG is just, I think that I've tried to treat as many people with respect, whether we've kept a relationship or not, whether they've worked for me and not worked for me, and just try and respect people along the way.
I could tell you, Summer, we were out to lunch, and this is one thing I think I might have mentioned to you. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this to you, but the people like Jason Courtney and Keith, when people like this get together, the caliber of the conversation isn't, hey, I have a thing to pitch you. I have a thing to pitch you. It's literally, how do I put you in, how can I make the most impact on your business? And I don't want anything from it. I just want to help you. Yeah. It's these two guys were like fighting. It was the weirdest fight I ever saw. Keith was like, well, I got 2 people I can introduce you to in this area. And Jason was like, I got 14. And she's like, I know a team of 200. Like they were, but it was just the mindset behind it. Yeah. Not only building relationships, and I think that this is something that you did really well. Not only were you building relationships for yourself and for the other person, but really you're building a relationship for somebody you might not even know yet, because you're like, well, maybe I can be a connector to that person then. Yeah,
that kind of goes back to what we even talked about last week on the podcast, like the simplest thing of just like helping one another, just sharing knowledge. When people could just get together and do that, that sounds like what you and Jason do when you go to lunch. I just want to say too, shout out Snap Homes. Right back at you, Curtis.
I've referred business and relationships that would have made me millions of dollars at times. And I say that unabashedly. And I never looked back and said, what if I was in that position, or what should I have done different to leverage my relationship and make some money off it? It's great when it happens, but it's also really fulfilling to just hook people up and realize you have no ulterior motive other than 2 people working together and trying to see what their goals are being met and see those come to fruition.
No, I think that's great. And I think it's one thing that people, certain people miss when they burn bridges. They get to the top as fast as possible. I remember listening to, I believe he was the CEO of Bell back when Bell Communications was around. And I remember him talking about that. He started out as just a payphone salesman, finding locations for payphones. And with a very short period of time, he was running Bell. And in order to get there, he burned all these bridges. And it wasn't until years later that he realized that bridges were people. Yeah. And because of that, he didn't have to run through people like that to become successful. To become successful that fast, it was the only way he could see doing it. But at the end of the day, that success wasn't really worth it to him because he burnt all those relationships.
Yeah. Sounds a bit miserable.
Yeah, you know, you've met really famous people up at the top, and you know folks up there. You ever notice that like they're not as happy as what we all think that they are?
You know, the most famous person at the top I know is a guy named Curtis Shewell.
Oh my goodness, you guys are so funny.
And that guy is truly a happy guy. He loves people and he vibes. But yeah, I've seen a lot of very miserable leaders, very miserable people at the top who make a lot of money and who can't seem to find the joy in what they do and what they have, right? They're always chasing something else, right?
Yeah.
I think that perspective from me, I've been stripped before. I mean, we've lost everything before. And when you go through a period where you lose everything, you appreciate things so much more. And it's not hard to appreciate the small stuff anymore. But yeah, I've met a lot of miserable people. I won't name drop them.
those ones
We'll
don't
leave
get the name
we'll
drops.
keep those ones in.
Yeah.
So now, fast forward, you did this thing with these different companies, and then you have this idea, and this is where Snap Homes comes in. And every time you bring this up, the first time I heard it, I thought it was genius as well. So how do you even come up with, like, where did this idea for Snap Homes come up with? Give a little synopsis of what that is, just so people know, and then when people really get it, like I said, there's like this light bulb where they're like, whoa, this is genius.
Well, so, and I appreciate that. I wish I could take credit for authoring the concept behind Snap Homes. I can't. It's been out there. So what Snap Homes is, for lack of a better word, we're a private investor that takes well-approved mortgage customers and makes them cash buyers. And you can say why, and I can give you stats, and I don't want to do death by math, as I say, but I mean, one of the stats that I can tell you is that still to this day, 33% of the Michigan market is being purchased with cash. So if someone's buying a home today and she's well qualified for a mortgage, she has a 33% chance of not getting the home she wants because she doesn't have cash. It comes out as simple as that, right? So, and this came out of frustration of dealing with realtors who, on the title side, who were dealing with people who were making offers and constantly losing these offers on cash. And these are well qualified buyers. But it wasn't as easy as that. And Lori may be rolling her eyes, so I'm not going to look at her right now to see her disappointment. I had the benefit of having a quick glance into what's called a power buyer. So nationally, a lot of companies that do what we do are called power buyers. And you have other companies. I'm not afraid to name the competition like Zavvi and Homelight, Ribbon, and Knock. These are all companies that did what we do, but really don't operate in the Michigan landscape anymore. So at my title company, I had an agency manager, a guy named Mike Garr, who ran Zavvi. Right, so Mike had been trying to position this within me for a while. It came out of a place of hurt that Snap really jumped to light for me. I had a situation with an employee left me, and I felt really hurt by this employee leaving. So in 24 hours, I went through a period of anger to forgiveness. And again, it's going to sound hokey, and I apologize, but this is really how it came about. In this place of forgiveness, the idea of Snap was downloaded completely to me. Now my agency manager had told me broad strokes, but as I'm sitting there at 3:30 in the morning, every single step is becoming clear, steps that I never knew about. Yeah. So next day I meet with Mike. 2 days later, I start talking to realtors about it, and everybody to this day says the same thing. Genius, right? Like it's genius. It's genius. And I want to show people that it really is genius, that there's a reason behind what we do. And obviously, I'd love to tell you Snap is a non-for-profit company, that we don't make any money, that we pour all our profits into Haitian refugees. We don't, right? It's a profit company that...
I don't want you to tell people that, because I'm part of it. We are a for-profit company. I'm telling you that right now.
But
you can donate your records to the Haitians.
Yeah.
We need to make some money.
I tell you, when you look at why, I mean, there's so many whys in what we do. Is first off, it's costless. If you don't do a transaction with us, you are not going to pay a dime. But how about this? And I know you didn't want to talk too much, but my favorite stat, and this is something that I come back to, is that the average cash buyer pays 11% less than the average mortgage buyer does for a home. Now, that's a powerful stat. And this isn't Keith making it up. FDIC did a study. I can forward it to anybody, 1987 to 2022, that shows that. This year, we have tracked properties in 6 main counties: Oakland, Wayne, Macomb, Livingston, Washtenaw, and Genesee. And our math has come up. I have 270 properties in cash. The average is 11.8%. I post them on our website about the average savings. The fact of the matter is, if you were a realtor and you had a buyer and the buyer said, hey, I really love this home and I'd really love it for 5% off, make them a cash offer.
Yep.
Find out.
Yeah.
Because then whatever you're going to pay me is mitigated in what they're going to save. So I really think there's a need for our service and what we do. We're not a mortgage company. We're not a mortgage product. I want to make that clear. We're a service that can help Summer convert more of her buyers into buying. We're a service that if Summer goes out and attracts it, she can gain more buyers because they know that she has a cash availability and something that
It's huge.
she
It's
can.
really
Huge
big.
I mean, this is
Yeah.
not a little thing, and it's not just because it's our company. We have money to help people navigate the real estate market right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You know, the first time I heard it, I was thinking, well, this is hard money lending, but that's the other thing
Not
that
at
you
all.
got to get around from people. You're not going to show up with baseball bats and
Well, the two biggest preconceived notions are that we're hard money,
Yeah.
and we're not, right? Like
Yeah.
hard money is somebody who can't qualify. You have to qualify for a mortgage. You have to be well qualified. I like to say it's good money fast, right? The second preconceived notion is that we're an iBuyer. These are the guys that Johnny buys houses, right?
Yeah,
Open
yeah.
door, all
Yeah.
those. We're not an iBuyer. We are creating cash buyers. The iBuyer model is I'm going to come buy your house. I'm going to do it at 88 to 92% of the value, and then I'm going to flip it and sell it to somebody. I don't have an end buyer. In my schematic, I have the end buyer, which for our investors is a lovely, virtually risk-free proposition because we're flipping them out because we know they qualify for a mortgage.
right.
Yeah.
Which is just, again, that's the genius part
It-
behind
it
it, that I hadn't
really,
heard
really
of
is.
before.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Sellers, a cash offer compared to a mortgage offer, everybody knows that, a seller is going to think it's more risk free to just get cash in your hand and
It
move
is.
on. And when you do have your buyer, you're showing all these houses and they missed out on all their dream homes because they couldn't compete, And there's nothing more that a real estate agent wants to do for their client than to, make sure they have the best offer and really work as hard as they can. And if you have access to Snap Homes and
right.
and you don't use them, you're almost like ethically
Well, this is what I've said
hurting,
to people. This is the type of thing.
hurting your buyer.
And I believe this before, and I don't know if legally because the podcast is not for profit, so I don't know legally where I have to say this, but I am part of Snap, so know that. But before I ever was, the first thing I thought to myself is, and I've told you this, realtors, this is almost in their fiduciary duty where they have to.
Yeah.
If you know that there's an option to save your clients 11% on their home, like you should offer that option to them. You should know
Yeah.
about that. That is something that I believe is within fiduciary duties. Same thing with working with great lenders. I think it's your fiduciary duty to find a lender that's good and then work with a lender that's good and reputable.
Yeah, well,
right?
because it's just so genius. It's so amazing that it just makes you instantly think that, It's like whoever isn't using Snap Homes, whoa, you need to,
Yeah.
Use them.
All right.
yeah.
We're going to have Summer be on our promos right there. Whoever is not using Snap Homes, whoa.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Feel sorry for you.
That's funny.
No.
Oh, you're with one of those other realtors that doesn't give you any options.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Whoa. That's fun.
We got
All
to
right.
get that in there.
So I want to transition into, I have a very fun game that I want to play.
Oh, I can't wait.
I know you've been waiting for this all day. 'Cause
I have.
I told you that last night. Before we transition to that, do want to let you guys know that we are sponsored by Title Partners. Title Partners has come along and partnered with us to get this podcast out to you, and they want to be a partner of yours as well. We definitely trust Title Partners. If you are a realtor and or a seller and you need to go out and get your title insurance anyway, definitely give these guys a call. If you're checking people out, add them to your list of people to check out because they are absolutely phenomenal. And like I've said before a million times on the show, they don't want to just do your title work. They actually do want to be a partner to you. Oh, I like that. People are jumping in now with
Yep.
slogans.
We got Curtis saying, cash is king. Oh, snap.
Snap it is.
That's a good one. Oh,
like
snap.
it. I like it a lot. All right, you guys. Let's see. There we go. It's time for us to play a little game. I came up with this when I knew you were coming on, so it's not been that long. This game is called Simon Said. So I know Keith had an idea that it was going to have something to do with Simon, but yes, this game is called Simon Said. There's two different versions, two different rounds of this game. Keith, the first is a trivia question, and what I need. I did it again. I keep destroying my laptop. Oh. It was all when you banged your key on the desk. That's what I was worried about right there.
Oh.
Do you want to move this over a little?
No, it's good. We're good. We got it. I just got to read from back here. Luckily, I have 20/20 vision.
Good thing you have
Glasses are
20/20
just for
vision.
looks, right?
Yeah.
All right. So the first part of this game show, Keith, is to tell us which Simon we're talking about. Okay.
Okay. I don't know about this game either, Keith. I don't know what we're getting ourselves into.
Jeez. Well, he got the first one absolutely correct. Which Simon wrote the hit song "Miss Robinson"?
Yeah,
I didn't
would've been
even.
easy.
All right. Well, we'll skip that one then.
Well,
Let's just do this.
Okay.
What Simons do you know? And then I'll adjust my questions to that.
I was joking,
That
but
was the
let's
first
play it out.
question.
Let's go.
That was the first question.
That's fantastic.
Oh my gosh! All right. Well, for question number 2, then, and these go just to let you know, they start out easy. Which Simon is best known for judging an American television show about talent?
I fashioned a lot of my look after him, and
Yeah,
I
you
know
did,
Jason
don't you?
Courtney did. Simon Cowell.
That's it.
oh yeah, there it is.
That's it. Well, that was late. Yeah. Okay, here's a good one, and I don't know if you know this. Which Simon wrote the book Start With Why?
The Chipmunk Simon.
No, that's another good Simon.
No,
Oh, that's a good one.
I don't know.
I don't even know.
I don't know who starts with
Oh,
the book.
that's
Why.
not it. Is this it? Yeah. Who's the chipmunk? It's not on my voice. Is it on yours?
Hello? No, it's not.
It's on Keith's.
Yes, it is.
There it is. Yes, the chipmunk Simon. No, that would be Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
The book Start
Yep.
With Why. Which
Maybe I should read it.
what game is often used to teach kids listening skills?
The game is called Simon, or Simon Says.
There you
Now
go.
you started this whole podcast by asking if we were going to play a completely different game.
And I was completely wrong because Simple Simon's
Simple
actually
Simon.
a nursery rhyme and
It's a
not a
nursery
game.
rhyme. Okay. I
Simon
don't know
Says is the game.
Yes, and I was
Yeah.
confused because I was like,
Yeah,
"What is
no.
Simple Simon?"
I know. We can make it up.
What is Simple Simon?
It's just following Keith around and watching him all day.
Simple Simon.
All right. And then which Simon once coached 3 different sports in 1 week, claiming that it was the ultimate cross-training?
Wow, that's a good one.
I feel like you would know
I
that.
I
feel
feel
like
like you should too.
I feel like I should, and I'm
Yeah.
going to be embarrassed.
This also may or may not be true.
Oh,
Yeah.
Keith Simon.
That was Keith Simon. That is correct. Yeah. You picked up on the social cues there.
You
Yeah.
killed
Keith
that.
Simon.
You
Yes.
killed
He
it.
was known that. Yes. Let's see here. Which Simon worked in music publishing in the music publishing mailroom?
Which Simon?
Music publishing.
Music
You
publishing
should know
mailroom.
this too.
No.
No.
We're going to the people behind the scenes. Like, who are these
Oh, I
guys?
see. Yeah, right.
Hint?
All the Simons that I have in this quiz have been named already.
Paul Simon again?
No, that
Oh.
was actually Simon Cowell that did that. Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah. Let's try this one. Which Simon claims that he keeps a collection of laundry tickets because they remind him of his songwriting process?
Paul Simon.
That was, but now did you know that or did you just guess that? 'cause it was-
Songwriting process kind of gave it away.
Gave it away.
You've already told me you've used all the Simons, so
Yeah, you
I
can-
got
you
Simon
just-
Cowell, Simon Sinek, Keith Simon, and Paul Simon. So
He's too smart.
It's a process. The guy's a process
He's
guy. He
too
connects the
smart,
dots.
man. What are you gonna do?
Which Simon created a marketing campaign for a local pizza place that included delivering pizzas versus via drones?
it's Simon Sinek.
That is no. That would also be you. You also did that. Yeah.
What?
Keith Simon.
When I was delivering pizzas, there was no drones.
Not
You didn't
yet.
call them drones yet. We studied really hard. So these questions, by the way, I went into ChatGPT. I gave it your bio, and I said, make up fictitious questions about Keith so I can read them to him. So
that's awesome.
It also came up with a unique fact. So here's a 100% guaranteed Keith Simon unique fact. It says Keith Simon claims that his innovative strategy for funding athletic contracts was inspired by watching Moneyball too many times.
Absolutely. Shout out to Billy Bean.
See, there it is. It picked up on it. All right, so now we're going to go into quotes. So now, which Simon did which quote? I'm going to start with this one. I don't. Well, that's easy. Yeah, we'll start with an easy one. That was a karaoke performance at best.
Paul Simon. No. Simon Cowell.
Yes.
Sorry, jeez.
One man's ceiling is another man's floor.
Simon Sinek.
No,
Keith Simon.
that was Paul Simon.
Wow.
What does that mean?
One man's ceiling is another man's floor.
You're standing on the ceiling?
You're standing on their head. So I believe that goes
That'd
back
be Lionel
to
Richie dancing on the ceiling.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah.
Upside down or on the roof?
What
That
is
means
this, like
what one
Stranger
person
Things?
sees as the top that they can achieve, another person's that's their bottom.
Oh.
You know, there's another quote like that I always loved. It's a poem. Two men sat behind bars. One saw mud, the other saw stars.
That's
I
great.
always loved that poem.
So I'll say a similar quote. Henry Ford. Whether you think I think it's attributed to Henry Ford. Nobody knows for sure. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever you think, if you think you can't do it, you won't. If you think you can, you will.
Yep. And then you might fail,
Yep.
but you did it.
The art of Simon Says is not in the saying, but in the hesitation.
That's true.
That is a quote from who they believe created Simon Says.
That's me, and my family did.
Whether it's a pancake breakfast or $1 million deal, the key is to stick the landing.
Simon Sinek.
That is Keith Simon.
I'm just going to say Simon Sinek until you say yes. That's right.
Actually, since you started guessing that, I just quit asking questions about Simon Sinek.
That's great.
Here's some other quotes that ChatGPT thought it could attribute to you.
To me, okay.
Yep. I've coached athletes, run companies, and raised kids, but coaching soccer was by far the toughest negotiation.
It's close. ChatGPT. So in that, I have coached soccer.
Yeah.
But dealing with soccer parents
Okay,
is
there
the
you go.
toughest
Oh, that was a-
negotiation.
It was
by
close.
far.
Yeah.
Parents got me out of coaching.
Really?
Absolutely.
Because you wouldn't
I
put
believe
Timmy
it.
in?
Timmy, well, Timmy didn't show up for practice 3
Right,
days in a
yeah,
row,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Timmy's running on the other side of the basket, or if it's soccer, he's not even he's
Quit
running in
picking the
circles.
Dandelions!
And then Billy and Mary are like, why isn't Timmy playing? Because Timmy has no idea how to play the
Timmy
game, right?
sucks, Yeah.
And you know, but we paid to play. Well, at least have him at practice then. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll play.
It wasn't, but it's not pay to play, is it? It's actually pay to coach. Learn, right?
Yeah, it's. I think you have to be careful, right? Like when you're young, when is the dividing age that you stop having everybody get the same amount of time? I don't know if it's 7th grade, 8th grade. It's changed. It's slid a lot, but I mean, if you're the one thing I would expect is if it's 8th grade girls basketball,
Yeah.
that if they don't practice, they don't play. No matter if you're participating or think your child is going to
I think
or not.
that's fair.
They're just going to embarrass you, the parents,
What
and
if
them.
they're really good?
But
Like,
they
you
weren't
still
really
let
good.
them-
In
Well,
almost every case, these kids were not really good.
That's the problem. Is they're not.
That's not the
and actually, we did have a girl who was really good, and she couldn't consistently come to practice.
Yeah.
She didn't start, right? Like,
Yeah.
and she could dominate for an 8th grade girl. She could dominate games. Her heart wasn't in it. She didn't want to practice. She didn't come out. We didn't start her.
Yeah,
Wow.
if your heart's not in it, no matter what you're doing.
That's absolutely right.
The last here's the last quote ChatGPT attributes to you. Marketing is storytelling with a budget, and I like to think I tell pretty good stories.
That would be pretty accurate. I mean,
Yeah.
that would be pretty accurate.
There you go.
Speaking of good stories, I
job,
want to end.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT nailed it through a bio. It said this
that's
is
pretty
it.
good.
Through storytelling, I want to tell a story, and I don't know if you're being serious when you said I can't bring this up. or I like,
I've probably told enough
like
people
how-
this story. So
yeah, good. Can you? So Summer doesn't know about this.
I don't
Can you
know.
tell the story about creating the fake media companies so that you could get backstage into concerts?
sure.
No, this is the
Wait,
best thing I've ever heard in my life.
First,
This
you
is
have to
great.
understand it was a legitimate media company.
Okay,
The
so
creation
a
of how
legitimate
we
fake media
got
company.
to it, yeah, legitimate fake company. So it's 2006, and the Super Bowl is being played at Ford Field.
Yeah.
Right. So the teams that were playing that year, I believe, were the Pittsburgh Steelers, Seattle Seahawks. Somebody correct me out there if I'm wrong. So I have this friend, and I always tell the long version because you have to get pieces of the story. I had this friend. He was the single best loan officer that ever worked for me.
Okay.
But my boy had a problem. My boy was raised in a union family, and at some point from his dad's bringing, he would always self-sabotage growing up the ladder because he always felt a problem with the man, is what he would say.
Okay.
So he at one point he was at Quicken. He got separated from Quicken due to customer service scores, right? Like, but this guy could kill it on the phone. He was fantastic, but he didn't care about customer service scores. It's just one of those things. Well, so he comes to me one day, and I'm working at a company called Wells Fargo. I'm a vice president, and he says, "I'm going to the Super Bowl, and as a member of the media." And I'm like, "No way," because at this time I'm also supervising a group of volunteers for the whole 2 weeks down there for Winterfest is what they called it at the time. And so he comes back, he goes down to press day, gets his press passes, gets everything for 2 weeks. He goes to the Pepsi Smash concert. He's in the Maxim concert. He's in every single event. And then again, this is the guy's mentality. Shout out, Bruce. I don't think you're listening.
Bruce, are you listening?
Bruce is in South Carolina. Fantastic, man. But so he gets in, right? Like this is supposed to be the most heavily secured event. And he gets in as a photographer for the Flint Township News. So if anybody lives in Genesee County or Oakland County, you might know it as the green sheet. It's this 8-piece of paper that people put on your doorsteps for free.
Okay.
Flint Township News. He takes a picture of himself in the end zone with a disposable camera. Like, I'm a photographer for the Super Bowl, and here's my gear. It's this little camera from Perry Drugs or Rite Aid. And that's it, right? Like, so you fast forward to October of that year. The Tigers make the playoffs. They beat the Yankees in what's called the divisional series. And now they're going to the American League Championship. And Bruce comes to me and says, "We're going as members of the media." And I'm like, no. And he coaxes me to go. And sure enough, so the Oakland had the first 2 games were played in Oakland. So Detroit had won those first 2. Game 3 and 4 would be played in Detroit. And so we go to the press entrance, and they're just looking through. "Mr. Simon, Mr. Gerard, here's your press passes." We got this all access press pass. We're everywhere, right? Like we go up into the press box. There's Flint Township News sitting there, right? They think we're part of Flint Township News. Game 3, Tigers win. Where this would have made a good segue from the story. Have you met your heroes? Because I would tell you that being in the locker room for Game 3 and then Game 4, which they eventually won, was the most dynamic thing I've been a part of with pro athletes. They were the kindest, most happy to be there type of guys. So Game 3, Tigers win. We're in the dugout. Game 4, Magdale hits this epic home run. 15 minutes later, they're at the press on the field. I'm out there with Al Kaline, the mayor at the time, Kwame Kilpatrick. I'm going to the pitcher mound, and I've got this plastic thing like this, and I'm filling it with sand. I still have that. And then they let us into the locker room, and the champagne was being poured. And they said, "There's 2 rules. One rule really: you can't pick up a champagne bottle. You cannot touch the champagne bottle. If some of the players want to pour it on you or you want to partake, that's fine. You can't take a champagne bottle." So I was literally like picking up all these corks. I had 100 corks in my pocket from that. We're drinking with the players. We were there for hours. So fast forward to the World Series, same gig, right?
Yeah.
We're there.
Yeah.
We're there. So
Now, are you still taking disposable cameras in and stuff? Like, are you actually doing any media type thing, or are you just showing up?
so I'm in as a writer.
Hanging out.
Okay.
I'm in as a writer. Bruce is in as a photographer, and he didn't care. Like, we were there. It was easy.
Yeah.
So you fast forward to the World Series, same gig. We go to the press, and they're looking for their things. This is me, like, going through files. Mr. Simon, Bruce, we can't find your press passes. They're probably at the press tent across the street. We're like, press tent across the street.
The heck?
2 minutes later, 7 guys in suits, all in the identical suit, all Major League Baseball security, are escorting us across the street.
Oh no!
There's no press tent across the street. What there
no.
is a Major League Baseball security trailer.
Yeah.
And I could go through the dynamics because those are fun, but we've got a time limit of what happened.
We don't know. You're good.
That
We're
is
podcast.
so funny.
And what happened in that trailer.
Yes,
But-
we want to know. No, don't skip this part. This is what we've been waiting for.
This is crazy.
Well, the first thing they say to me is
Take off your clothes.
they're like, we don't let freelance journalists in here.
yeah.
And we couldn't verify your employment with the Flint Township News. Okay. So I said, well, I didn't know that. And they said, well, you filled it out. I said, I didn't fill out my own thing. So basically, again,
I don't know how it got there. It's not mine.
well, my partner had filled it out.
Yeah,
And
right.
I mean,
So you
again,
weren't-
he
you
came to
weren't
work and said,
lying.
Yeah.
I wasn't lying.
No.
It
Yeah.
is.
And
It's
so
just you.
there's
that
two
Bruce?
dynamics. We're both in different cop cars.
Oh.
Okay, so
Oh,
we're both in
no.
different cop cars. I'm there like 2 minutes because I'm like, I didn't fill out the thing. Okay, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
They're trying to break you guys.
Bruce sticking to his story, man. I'm a member of the Flint Township News.
Oh,
There's
no.
some dynamic I could go and I won't go into it because I think I don't want to out him. But he's sticking to his story for an hour, right? Like I'm a member
Hold
of
it
that.
strong.
He even gave somebody a number to call. That went horribly
Did it
wrong.
ring you while you were in the other cop car?
No. It rang one of his best friends who worked with us, who happened to be black, and he's
Was
like,
it Moo the elf by any chance?
No.
Because I've heard this story before.
his name is Rudy.
Okay.
And Rudy gets a call from the Wayne County Sheriffs.
Oh no.
And Rudy's like, I'm a black man. I'm getting a call from Wayne County Sheriffs. There's no way I know you.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
Exactly.
like, they're like, do you work for the Flint Township News, Rudy? And he's like, no.
No.
Like, no.
Nope.
No.
Never claimed
Do
to,
you know
never
Bruce?
have.
Nope.
Yeah.
So they send us away, and this is what the Wayne County in the Major League Baseball says to us. They said, get your story straight with your editor and come back for game 2.
What?
So get your story straight with your editor and come back for game 2. And what we realized is that there was a hole in the story, right? We didn't have an employer.
Yeah, there's the whole.
There's the hole.
There's the whole.
We're
in
not
the
coming
story.
back for game 2.
No,
There
yeah.
is nothing else
don't
to
really
Like,
tell.
do
Yeah,
not
yeah.
ever look back.
But again, this is 2006, so
Right.
you didn't have the dearth of news that you do on your laptops, right?
Oh
Right,
yeah, because
right.
now it's
They
crazy.
had these things that you might have heard of them called blogs
Yeah.
back then, right? Like everything was in form of blog.
Yeah.
We started a website, a group called the Detroit Independent, and we had between us 6 or 7 people that would actually write stories. We would review music. We had so much stuff sent to us for free to review, product review, and we were a blog, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what this led to is it led to us having a press box seat at the Tigers, at the Red Wings, at the Lions
That's
for,
insane.
for
That's
3
cool.
years. And it said the Detroit Independent, and you could go in there, and if you go into these press boxes, they actually
Wait.
have an assigned seat for where you go there.
So you actually were at writing articles at this point in time?
Absolutely.
Is this still live? Can we read one of
No,
your
but
articles?
you know what? I bet you I can get, because the same guy that hosts Snap
Yeah.
could probably bring it back online for us as long as the domain's still available. We wrote articles. We wrote a lot of
I'd
articles.
Love to see an article.
But what we did too is also take articles from the AP and we'd credit and repost. So we always had new content coming on.
Yeah.
But the greatest thing, and Lori might be able to say yes, is I had access to a lot of different PR groups.
Yeah.
So we were able to see a lot of concerts for free. And the thing with concerts, when they want you to review them, they
Yeah.
usually give you really good seats.
Mm-hmm.
And then they give you this thing called the photo pass, which you go and you can literally go. Most shows, you're up on.
You like
at
to
the
get
stage.
really good photos. Wow,
well,
that's
And there's
so
you
cool.
with your disposable
And there's me with the disposable camera. It's actually,
Don't you have to wind those ones up or something?
I like to shoot with the Polaroid because I thought that would be a cool dynamic. You know,
Yeah.
we went
That's
to
so
see,
funny.
here's Ben Harper in a Polaroid shot that's blurry, and I'm sitting there at the stage
Yeah.
trying to get it to do.
That's cool.
No,
Like an iconic moment.
She shot most of the shows. We just had a pretty simple Canon.
Lori would shoot too.
Oh yeah, elbows on the stage.
Oh
and
my
she's shooting.
gosh.
And we didn't
Why
go.
aren't you doing this anymore?
Right, let's go somewhere. Let's go to a concert.
the guy who designed the website said let's go because we
Bring
had
it
such
back.
we had such
Do you need some podcast hosts?
right
to-
exactly.
to deliver to it?
But it was really a great thing because I know this because we had at one point 100,000 unique first-time visitors.
Wow.
People were coming and they were staying an average of 4.5 minutes on our website. They were reading stuff, they were doing stuff, and we tried to make a point of making it relevant as we went through
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
And I mean, it was really like a business for us that we just got everything for free. And
Yeah.
you didn't ask the question, but I'll answer it. The best concert we ever.
What's the best concert that
Yeah,
you
I
ever
need to
been?
know. I need
So
to know.
you probably don't know who this is, but a guy named Paul McCartney.
Okay.
Do you know who he is?
No, I don't think Johnny does either.
I was not a secular music guy.
Okay, well, you just had to listen to music. He was in the band The Beatles.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh, the
Those
Beatles.
guys.
Say
With
less.
John Stamos.
I
With John
know.
Stamos. Yeah, Ringo Starr, John Lennon.
Oh no, that was
John
that was the
Stamos.
Backstreet Boys.
John Stamos was in Full House and also drummed for the Beach Boys for a while. But we saw Paul McCartney at Ford Field. I think. Shout down to Ford Field. I think it's one of the worst places to see a concert unless you're real close. People can disagree with me.
Yeah.
We
I
were in
can
the 10th
imagine.
row. This guy at the time that we saw the show was 71 years old. He played for 3.5 hours and we left. He was
Wow.
still going.
Wow.
And just an amazing storyteller. And we're in the 10th row. You know, we got to the press box. They actually had the printed price. The seats were $250. I'm like, this is worth everything we've done just to see Paul this
There
close.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So that's how we created the Detroit Independent. And I will make it a point to see if we can bring it live.
I'd love to.
And-
We'll put it on our site.
Yeah,
to
that's
show.
really
I'd love to see.
cool.
Now, I do want to go back to the article. But when you guys first started, when you were saying that you were working for Flint, did you ever write an article for that, or you?
Oh,
just,
no.
I would love to see that one. That's the one I want to see. I
one-
want to see the picture that's blurry.
There was nothing.
And the handwritten article.
The whole thing is Bruce never told Flint Township News that he was using their name.
That's so funny.
And the fact that he got in to the Super Bowl is still amazing to me.
Yeah.
Again, to understand how heavily secured that event is. And it should scare us, right? Like, especially in the wake of what just happened,
Yeah.
right? And that somebody could go through a heavily secured event so unchecked.
Yeah.
It's like
well, I
it's
doubt it
literally.
now.
Well, yeah, not now, but it's
Let's
literally.
try. I don't know.
It's like in movies, you know. Like
Yeah.
they make it look so easy. You come up with all these and in fake disguises or
There was-
whatever.
There was no disguises, and it was a really cool perk of just having an imagination.
Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah.
Well, Bruce
saw-
never broke either. So.
Bruce never broke. Bruce was
He's a
strong.
good, loyal
if he
friend.
was there today, I'm sure Bruce tells you he was working at the Flint Township News. He did grow
like,
up.
oh,
He's
yeah.
probably still saying it.
I
Yes,
s-
I
I
did that. Of course
retired.
No, he's
Retired from Flint News.
He retired from Michigan. He's down in South Carolina.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
It's very.
What is that? How does that? If I can dream it, then I can stream it. No, that's not it.
I don't know.
Are you actually singing R. Kelly?
I don't know. Am I?
Shout out to R. Kelly. I believe
shout
I
out.
can
I
fly.
don't know. Do we shout out to R. Kelly?
Well,
I
you
don't
just
know.
did. You just sung a song,
I
and you
wasn't
sung
his
the
song.
wrong words,
I did,
which
there you
actually
go.
goes
With
even
the
better with
thing.
who R. Kelly is, which is disgusting.
That's perfect.
Oh no.
I love that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I did there. Well, Keith, I absolutely love the conversation today. Thank you for
Thanks,
coming
brother.
in and
Thanks,
being with
Summer.
us.
Thank you,
and,
Keith.
and on some of the short notice, Keith came in. So really appreciate that.
Yes.
Hope you shared a lot. If you guys want to learn more about Snap Homes and how you can get involved with them, we will put that information and link it in the notes, in the show notes for the podcast. Doing
Yep.
too many things
Right
at
in the
once.
caption.
Yeah, that's what they do on those things, right? Like here or up here,
Yep.
right?
It'll be right here. Just kidding. It's gonna be.
Hey, it's that
down
time again,
there.
Summer. Tell them what time
All
it
right,
is.
we're gonna hit the lights, shut the door, pull the sign. We're gonna end this open house, everybody.
But before we do, we always go ahead. Did you have one last thing?
Oh yeah, don't forget to like, follow, and
I
share.
always forget to say that stuff. I just assume people are. And hey, don't forget, at the end of every episode, we go ahead and play a AI-generated song based on your suggestion of what the genre should be. And the two people that pick the genre are here. But that's just some magic that's going to be cut out for those of you that are watching live. Please put in the comments below or DM us what you think today's episode, what genre of music it should be. And AI will create a song for this episode next week that you guys will hear live, or on Tuesday when the podcast is released, you'll hear it at the end of the podcast. Thank you for joining us live out there in magical live world. For everybody that's listening to us on the podcast, you should listen to us live. We'll talk to you.
Looking at Johnny the whole time.
What's that?
Shout out to Lori. Shout out to Lori.
She's
She's
right
in
there.
the background.
I've been looking at
background.
I've been looking at Johnny the whole time, so I hope they got the good side.
You got the good side.
You guys have a good side